Today we're at 122nd Street and Riverside Drive. We're visiting Grant's tomb. And this section has a lot of interesting things besides the tomb. There's St. John the Divine, which is the second largest cathedral in New York. And we're also, if you go across, you're at Riverside Park by the water, looking over at New Jersey. But let's get back to Grant's tomb. Ulysses S. Grant was the Union General during the Civil War and the 18th President of the United States. After President Benjamin Harris laid the cornerstone in 1892, it took 6 years to build the 150-foot high memorial using 8,000 tons of granite. Huge crowds attended the dedication in 1897 to honor the man they credited with winning the Civil War, ending slavery, and reuniting a nation. General Grant was known to have said, "I have given the subject of arming the Negro my hearty support. This with the emancipation of the Negro is the heaviest blow yet given to the Confederacy. They will make good soldiers, and by taking them from the enemy, weakens him in the same proportion they strengthen us." So this makes sense because Richard T. Greener, an associate of Grant and the first Black graduate of Harvard, supervised the fundraising campaign that collected more than $600,000 to build the memorial. The Harlem community has been actively involved with the memorial from its beginning. This is not only General Ulysses S. Grant's memorial, but his wife Julia Dent Grant is also buried alongside of him. This memorial is open from Wednesday through Sunday, 10 to 4 p.m. It's closed for 3 holidays: Christmas, Thanksgiving, and one other, which I will note in the caption. Friends, welcome to my channel, MBC Lifestyles Diary. My name is Marie. I live in New York, and I love fashion, travel, and cultural events. And I'm asking you to join me on the adventure. There is a period of time after the Civil War that is rarely discussed, and that is the era of Reconstruction. This period was from 1871 to 1877. General Grant approached Reconstruction by expanding the power of the Freedmen's Bureau. He jailed Confederate leaders who had been pardoned. He used the military to protect African Americans from violence. President Grant also supported a series of legislative acts in 1871 to enhance the federal government's ability to use the military to stop acts of racial terrorism committed by the Ku Klux Klan, and in 1875 he signed a civil rights law that outlawed racial discrimination in public transportation and accommodation. Despite previously owning an enslaved person and being the last U.S. president to do so, Grant is considered the first civil rights president for his approach to Reconstruction in the South and signing the first civil rights legislation into law, including the Enforcement Acts and the Civil Rights Act. Reconstruction ended with the contested presidential election of 1876, which put Republican Rutherford B. Hayes in office in exchange for the withdrawal of federal troops from the South. Republicans and Democrats responded to the economic declines by shifting attention from Reconstruction to economic recovery. While many factors led to the end of Reconstruction, the official end is generally attributed to the Compromise of 1877. The Compromise resulted from a long process that included political turmoil, continuing division over race, and economic difficulties. President Grant died in the year 1887 in the month of July. He had spent his final years in New York City. President Grant also wanted his wife buried next to him, and that eliminated a military cemetery such as West Point. The mayor of New York offered this site in Riverside Drive, and his wife accepted. At that point, a memorial was to be built, but a temporary burial ground was developed until the funds could be raised for the mausoleum. The architect for the mausoleum was John H. Duncan. It's a neoclassical structure, and it's modeled after the mausoleum of Halicarnassus, a Greek that is buried in Turkey. President Grant's tomb is under the care of the National Park Service since 1959. When you enter the mausoleum, there are 2 rooms on either side of the rotunda, which holds the sarcophagus of Ulysses S. Grant and his wife Julia Dent Grant. In each room, there are regimental flags that represent the regiments that served under Ulysses S. Grant, and there's maps on the wall that shows the battlegrounds of the Civil War. Each city or battlefield in which Grant was personally responsible or personally involved in is marked by a star. The stairs leading down bring you closer to the sarcophaguses that contain President Grant and his wife, and around the coffins are busts of the generals that served under General Ulysses S. Grant. These busts represent General Thomas, General Sherman, General Ord, General McPherson, and General Sheridan. President Grant was known as the General of Unconditional Surrender. He had 3 Confederate generals surrender to him on the field. President Grant won the 1868 presidential election by a landslide. Grant's victory came in large part to nearly 500,000 black voters in the South who overwhelmingly voted for him and the Republican Party during the election. Upon taking office, Grant hoped to build upon the previous established framework by championing the 15th Amendment to enhance, protect, and guarantee black male voting rights nationwide. He pushed for the establishment of the Department of Justice in 1870, which was tasked with investigating acts of violence against African Americans. Across from Grant's tomb is the Riverside Church, which is an interdenominational church under the wing of the American Baptist Church and the United Church of Christ. It is built in the Gothic Revival style, and it was built in 1930. Riverside Drive runs north to south in Manhattan. It is parallel to the Henry Hudson Parkway. Riverside Drive was the first road developed on the west side, and many mansions and luxury buildings were built there. Riverside Drive is very scenic and has several monuments along its path. This one is the Firemen's Monument for those firemen that lost their lives. Off of Riverside Drive is the neighborhood known as Morningside, and here you will find Barnard College, Teachers College, and Columbia University. An elaborate series of colorful and curvy mosaic benches that surround the monument, 17 interconnected benches erected by artists and volunteers in the 1970s in what was described as the largest public art project in the country. The exquisitely detailed work look as if they would be more at home in a fanciful public park in Barcelona, where Antonio Gaudí is the architect most associated with the city, than surrounding a presidential mausoleum. But the oddity of their appearance drew tourists to the monument at a moment when it was among the city's least visited sites. Let us have peace. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up, and remember, subscribe, like, and share.